Hi there, Dan from onlinebasscourses.com. I'm going to show you how to play the main riff in that bass line by Chic, Everybody Dance. And Bernard Edwards he came up with the most outrageous bass line. I mean, that's just a pop song, and it's just so tricky and so upfront, and not the kind of thing you'd hear these days. But I've been playing this for a few days now, and it is a tricky one to get together. So I'll just show you a few of the techniques that he's using. Now, I'm listening to the original to get these ideas, these ideas down, but also that footage of them playing this, what looks like they're miming to something on YouTube. Check that out. So that, some of the clues to how to play this have come from there. So I think I'm pretty close, but I probably have missed out a few little bits and pieces. So forgive me for that. We'll see how we get on. But the intro bit that goes round is the same as the solo section, which goes on a bit. So I'll show you that really. But technique wise, he's kind of doing this plectrum without a pick kind of technique. So holding thumb and first finger together a bit like this, and it's kind of like a downstroke with the nail of the index finger, and then coming up. Now, pretty sure that's what he's doing, and that was what I was doing in the intro anyway. And you can experiment. I mean, I know people do double thumbing technique and things like this, but I'd go with that. Just thumb and first finger like that. And if you listen to the original or download the drum beat that I've got going with this, it's 129 beats per minute. And if you listen to the hi-hats are doing 16ths all the way through. And the key to this is kind of feeling that and having that going constantly with your strumming hand, if you like. He probably looked across the recording studio and saw what Nile was doing, and it was influenced by him, really. So it's really this sort of chugging technique that you've got to keep going. So if you just mute your fretting hand over all the strings just to get this down. So a lot of this, as I say, is 16th notes, and this rhythm here is an 8th note followed by 2 16ths. Now that's happening a lot. Now to get this technique together, just you can have your 4th and 3rd fingers kind of anchoring a bit on the body of the bass, because it's quite hard to get precision on exactly what strings you're playing. But with practice you'll get it, and I'm just putting my arm on the upper bout here, so everything's nice and steady as can possibly be. So that first bit is just a C. This is all in C minor, by the way. So we're on the 3rd fret of the A string. And so we've got a downstroke, and we've got that 8th note, 2 16th note rhythms. So we've got the first downstroke, and then you can kind of cheat. I think he might be doing those ghost notes on the A string, but you could do them on the G string. So then you're already there for the next bit, which is the 3rd fret to the 5th fret of the G string, the B flat to the C. It's hammer on, followed by 2 16th notes. So it's that 8th note, 16th, 2 16th thing going on a lot. There's ghost notes, hammer-ons, and this picking technique. That's the whole thing, really. Don't bother with the metronome or the drum beat yet. Just get all these little movements up to speed in your own time, very slowly. This has taken me 3-4 days of playing this, like, 10-15 minutes every day to get it anywhere near close to Bernard. But to get this feeling a bit better for me, I'm going to have to practice it every day. Okay, so that 3rd time, that's the same thing to start with. and then it just stays on this hammer on 3rd to 5th fret. So that's 3rd fret to 5th fret hammer on, followed by those 2 ghost notes, still keeping this. Then we've got C, C, B, B flat. That's 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 1st fret of the A string. Moving to the A flat, 4th fret and the E string. And this is where the transition to fingerstyle happens. And I only got this by watching the video actually and seeing him miming or not. This is how he clearly did it. So you've got this little rundown: C, C, B, B flat, A flat. That's all picked down, up, down, up, down. And that's how you would play with a proper plectrum in your fingers. This kind of thing, you alternate picking, it's called, where you go down, up, down, up, down, up. Same thing here. And then it starts again, does the same thing. Instead it goes to the 5th, so that bit's B flat on the 6th fret of the E string, and then back to the root, and then to the 5th, which is the 8th fret of the A string. Now that's the intro, and then it goes into the main bass line, which we're not going to go into now. Just going to show you that the picking bit. Then later on in the song, it does the same thing. It goes into that bass solo section. Same thing. So that twice, and then it goes. Now this is quite a tricky section. There's 2 things going on here that I think are really, really important. The first is with the picking hand, you're going to be skipping strings to get those octaves. And to do that, you've got to really, really loosen up. And the movement is really, really coming about the wrist. It's not really a big arm movement. It's really wristy movement. And you've got to kind of go for it a bit. So it's... which is almost the same as the beginning, except you've got 2 low Cs. So... and then we're into the octave. So 5th fret of the A string, so D. So it's 2 low Ds, 2 high ones. So that's the first thing, is to keep that really, really relaxed and really loose. You're going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And do it this slow, okay? You can only play fast if you can play slow but perfect, okay? Build up from that. So the other thing I was going to say actually is that the tip of my first finger is touching the underside of the E string, and also my first finger is just catching that D string to mute it. So it's a bit of insurance. If I didn't do that and I caught one of those strings, you know, you get a lot of unwanted noise. So you've got octaves on D, E flat on the 6th fret, and then back. And then back to the C, and then that same downstroke on the A flat, moving to that transition, and then this time it goes. I forgot to mention one thing that he did, he did between each time around. I'll come back to what he does last, but he does 2 ghost notes finger style, which I found this really hard, and then back into that picking thing. You could do that picking, so and no one's really going to know, but that is what he's doing from the video anyway. So the last lick in the solo section goes. Similar to the beginning, but this time instead of the octave section where you've got 2 low notes, 2 high notes, it's 2 high notes, 2 low notes. and staying on C. And these notes are really, really staccato, really, really short. And since the picking hand is too busy doing all of this kind of string crossing, it's all to do with your fretting hand. And a lot of funk bass playing is to do with really, really short notes. So I'm using my little finger for the C, the high C, and then first finger for the low C, and just really controlling the length. And you got that same transition. And that's it, really. There are other bits. He does go on to still keep playing like that, and there's a really cool little slidey thing he does, so you can just have a listen to that and kind of fill those gaps in. But just in terms of the intro and that little solo section, that's kind of how it goes, and that's the sort of technique. It's kind of plectrum without a plectrum. Just try and lock in with the hi-hat, because the hi-hat is doing 16ths throughout, and you're kind of going 8th to 16ths a lot, which is down, down, up. And a lot of pick playing, I mean, across the stage he's got Nile Rodgers, who's one of the greatest funk guitarists, and a lot of funk guitar playing is just about the picking hand just keeping going like a machine. And there's no difference here, so just keep in the groove with that, and the hi-hats will help you there. So it's 129 beats per minute. Set your metronome to that only once you have very, very slowly got all of this together. Play slow, build up from there. Start your metronome really slow. Or you can download the drum beats by going to the link, clicking the link below, and only get it together after a few days really of doing this. Don't worry about getting it up to speed. It's taken me like a few days to get this up to speed, and I still feel like if I was to do a gig with this, I'd need a lot more practice to get it together. But it's just an amazing bass line. I don't realise it's taken me so long to actually sit down and learn it, but it really is one of the best bass lines of all time. And if you've got any other bass lines you're itching to play, then let me know and I'll do a video on that. So I'll see you next time.